CBS 13 News is on your side at 6.
Streets and buildings flooded, cars stalled, extreme flash flooding causes some chaos all around the streets of Portland.
The Weather Authority team has you covered. We have crews in the hardest hit areas.
We are live here on Commercial Street along the Portland waterfront right now. Just one of the many places all around the city that experienced damage and disruptions today.
It has been quite a day. A lot of rain has fallen. We're going to start right off with CBS 13 Chief Meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with some statistics on today's storm and what's still ahead. Charlie.
Kim, a lot of towns had around a half a foot of rain. That now puts us in the 9th wettest September on record. Now, that's amazing considering we only had a little over an inch of rain going into the storm system for the entire month. So pretty impressive stuff here. Let's take a look at where we are right now. Our steadiest and heaviest rain is long gone. It's moved up into down East Maine and up into the Canadian Maritimes. Now we have clouds and we have a few showers lingering, but the trend will be for improvement. I want to take you through the earlier afternoon hours here. Let's get in a little bit closer. This was the cell that produced the heavy rain and the flood warning. That was the flood warning. The timestamp right there is at 11:56 this morning. So right around noontime, that's when everything happened here in the greater Portland area. And that's why we had the flash flooding. We had close to 6 inches of rain for a large portion of the area. This really is incredible stuff going into the storm. We had 1/5 of that at most. All right, flood warning remains in effect for the Presumpscot River in Westbrook. That should expire later this evening. In addition, we have a flood watch up for coastal areas. That's a coastal flood watch. Next high tide is around 1:45 in the morning. There'll be another high tide at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. Coming up, we'll take a look at when we can expect to dry out and when to expect more rain in the 7-day forecast. I'll see you in a few. Greg and Kim, outside to you.
All right, we will see you then, Charlie. We can vouch for that stiff north breeze blowing right now. But take a look again, the focus on what was happening earlier today. Some people actually had to climb out of their vehicles, their SUVs and cars stalling in those quickly rising floodwaters.
CBS 13's Marissa Bodner is live now in the hard-hit Bayside area. And Marissa, what's that like tonight?
Kim and Greg, we are seeing a lot of progress here on Somerset Street. Within just the last half hour, the water has actually completely receded. All that's left, you can see, is dirt and debris on the ground. The only barriers we're still seeing are these that are around individual cars that had to be left in the middle of the roads when people were forced to escape through their windows. Now, all morning and afternoon, people who parked their cars here on dry pavement last night came back to find them looking like this. Portland High School senior Eamon Dundon says he drove away from campus to find the streets in every direction underwater. He chose the least flooded, but didn't get far before he says his car filled up with water.
I was really panicked. I was on the phone and I was like screaming at the 911 operator, and he wasn't being too helpful. I don't know. I was scared, so I rolled down the windows and then it got up to my waist and I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Never in my life. It's kind of bizarre, especially here. I guess it was a high tide, right? Yeah, it's crazy, something bizarre.
Some of the owners of these cars tell us everything that was inside is ruined, from clothes to electronics. Again, the water has receded, so many are trying to get down here. We've seen some tow trucks trying to get these cars towed out of here. As for this particular area, it does seem to be hard hit. Anytime there's a lot of rain, the city says they do have plans in the works to mitigate the flooding, but both projects they're looking at could take some time. For now, live in Portland, Marissa Bodner, CBS 13 News. Back to you.
All right, that was quite something earlier today, Marissa. I'm glad they're getting a bit of a handle on it. Another area of concern tonight is, of course, the rising waters along Maine's waters, the rivers and streams, and that includes the Presumpscot River.
Yeah, that river is raging right now, one of many right now, and it's still rising. CBS 13's Jennifer Long is live there along the Presumpscot for us right now, and quite a sight to see that river tonight, yeah.
Well, that's right, guys. The Presumpscot River is extremely churning, racing right now. It's quite the scene, and we are expecting the waters to continue to rise tonight. There is a flood warning in effect right now, and again, the waters are expecting to continue rising. They should get to about 17 feet tonight. That is 2 feet above flood stages here. Of course, this is all due to the torrential downpours that we saw earlier on today. To take a look at this this video that we got from a viewer this afternoon. It was taken right here on Bridge Street at around 2 p.m. and you can see that the water is moving extremely fast. Of course, as the afternoon progressed, we did see the rain start to subside, and we saw some people coming out here. A lot of people have been stopping and taking notice of the river. Some people stopping to take photos, but certainly a sight to see here. When you do see something like this, you obviously have concerns about flooding. Where is all of that water going? I can tell you right now in this area that we're on a little higher ground, but it will be interesting to get down to some of those areas closer to where the water level is. Whether or not there is any flooding, that is a concern right now, but we are expecting the waters to start going down by late tonight. That flood watch should expire here, something that we'll be keeping our eyes on. For now, we're live in Westbrook. Jennifer Long, CBS 13 News.
It's certainly an impressive sight out there, Jen, tonight.
Take a look at this video sent to us now by a viewer. This is at the parking garage at the Portland Jetport. It was sent to us, as I said, by one of our viewers. You can see the water bubbling up through the storm drains there, flooding out the ground floor of the parking garage. We're told that area is the car rental area, but there are no reports of any damage. The water is now drained out. We can tell you, despite the heavy rain, the flooding issues, the flights pretty much stayed on time throughout the day, and there are no delays reported tonight. Another area that did see some flooding today, though, USM in Portland.
Yeah, no problems on the Gorham campus, but the Portland campus, very near, of course, to the Bayside area where we saw that the flooding, all those cars that were flooded. But the USM campus, usually not a place where you see any sort of flooding. It is on higher ground, but not the case today. CBS 13's Brad Rogers is live there for us right now. Brad, tell us about the impacts that the university is seeing tonight, and what are you seeing there right now?
Well, right now things are pretty calm. In fact, it's a pretty dead campus, but the classes were closed at 12:30 this afternoon when floodwaters got inside at least 4 buildings here on campus. Now, 3 of those buildings were down in the basement of both the library, Glickman Library, and also 2 other buildings, the gym and a building that supplies heat to the campus. Now, at the library, all the important archives are kept on the top floor, not the basement, for this very reason, so no real concerns there. Floodwaters did get into one building on high ground. That was the law library. The basement of the law library had about 4 inches of water inside. Right now, fans are trying to dry out this basement and other basements on campus. Law students told me at 11:30 this morning they were told to clear their lockers down in the basement.
Just water on the floor. Some people from the school helping people get stuff out of their lockers. Nothing unusual.
Was there much damage at all?
I don't know what's actually below the basement floor. I mean, it might be another sub-basement or utility rooms. I didn't think anything was being damaged.
And so the cleanup continues. By the way, at the height of the storm, flooding also happened over in the parking garage here on campus as well. Classes will resume tomorrow. We are live on the Portland campus. Brad Rogers, CBS 13 News. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Brad. And from a university now to a preschool, a Portland preschool also experienced some flooding today, and unfortunately that's something that had to deal with before.
Yes, the Trinity Day School's interim director says that they noticed the flooding starting and they were able to save thousands of dollars worth of equipment. She says they were able to get that equipment off the floor and out of the water. The school will be closed tomorrow, but they do hope to be open up by Friday.
That's good news there for them. And also, we've been talking about all the damage here that we saw along Commercial Street earlier. We also saw some damage on the far side of Portland, downtown Portland, in the Forest Avenue section of things. A very busy stretch of Forest Avenue experienced some pretty significant flooding today as well.
And that's an area that doesn't typically see a lot of damage, unlike Marginal Way and right here where we are along Commercial Street. CBS 13's Katie Sampson reports from that part of the city on the damage and the impact.
Deering Oaks Park is partially submerged near the intersection of Forest Ave and State Street. It's just one of the areas that was impacted by these floods, and some spots cleared faster than others.
I was driving right through. No one really saw how high the water was.
Stevie DePaulo left for work around 10:45, but he only made it to Woodford's Corner.
As I went through, the water just kept getting so high that my car stopped. So once it stopped, I was stuck.
He says the water got so high he couldn't open the car door.
So I was basically trapped, it felt like.
The road was closed from Vanna to Woodford for more than an hour until the water receded. Just down the road, the Great Lost Bear opened late because of the flooding.
There was water coming through the doors, so everyone had squeegees to try to kind of fight it back, kind of all hands on deck kind of thing.
The 295 on and off ramps at exit 6 were closed for a portion of the day, too.
Have you ever encountered anything like this?
No, I've only seen it on Commercial Street from pictures.
After experiencing it firsthand, DePaulo is offering this advice to other drivers.
If you have a small car, stay home when the water's high.
Many streets are being reopened, but some blockades are still in place. Portland police remind drivers, if you see one, steer clear of that area. In Portland, Katie Sampson, CBS 13 News.
It is the September washout. Major disruptions and damage today, especially along the Portland waterfront.
Up next, we'll hear how local businesses downtown were affected by today's flooding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for trusting CBS 13 News.
Honored with 15 awards by the Maine Association of Broadcasters, including Best Newscast.
Every morning
and every night.
CBS 13 News is on your side.
You're watching CBS 13 News at 6.
Outer Congress Street in the area of St. John Street took quite a beating today.
Yeah, it certainly did. Water washed across the road there, flooding streets and stalling cars. CBS 13 meteorologist Adam Epstein, his very first day on the job, we are throwing him into the deep end, literally and figuratively. He's been out there all day long. Adam, what's the situation out there right now?
Well, it's been quite the first day. Unfortunately, things are starting to settle down right now. Cars are routinely driving by in what used to be a river just about 3 to 4 hours ago. Now there are really no signs of that severe flooding. But here's a look at what this street looked like just about 3 hours ago. This nearby hotel lot was completely flooded and barely accessible. The heavy rainfall from this morning easily pooled here, and that left parked cars stranded. Now, some people were determined to get to their cars, and they tried wading through this temporary river, although most people that came here, they simply turned around. Now, roadblocks were set up to close off the street in order to keep drivers safe. Remember, it only takes 1 foot of water to lift a car off the road, so the flooding here was more than sufficient. Now, during the peak hours of the rainfall in the early afternoon, the deepest parts of this pool were up to waist level. That was waist level. Now, fortunately, the rain started to taper by 2 p.m. and the water slowly started to recede. When we asked someone what they saw here earlier, here's what they said.
Basically rivers down my street. That's pretty much it. You know, I've been inside all day till today, but yeah.
So now that the flash flooding threat is over, fortunately, we still are dealing with some of the impacts in certain companies and I'm sure homes as well. Right across the street, this La Quinta Hotel has some cleaning services coming in, trying to dry out some of their floors here. But fortunately, we do get a break from the rain tomorrow. The sun will come out, but things could get messy once again late this weekend and early next week as the hurricane Joaquin arrives, but we're not really sure where that track is headed. The Weather Authority will keep you updated as far as we know. Now, I'll send you back to the studio.
All right, sounds good. Great to have you on the team, Adam.
Yeah, we will keep him busy this week, that's for sure, and beyond. Hey, you can see behind us right now, we again have been saying we're live on Commercial Street in Portland. Traffic moving just fine right now, but a far different scene just a few hours ago. Anyone trying to drive through here was experiencing major disruptions and delays.
As for the businesses, well, they had a lot of problems too, and even if they didn't see flooding, they certainly felt the impact of this storm. CBS 13's Jared Pelletier was right here as it all unfolded.
Part of the Portland Pier underwater for a good portion of the day because of this wild weather. Early on, people near Commercial Street in Portland knew this would be something to keep their eyes on.
All day. All day. I mean, it's just something that people deal with.
Boy, was he right. Nearly 6 inches of rain just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, at times with downpours of an inch an hour.
It was pouring, you're just getting soaked, you know, it's very windy, kind of monsoon-like.
Leading to scenes like this, and this one near Jay's Oyster Restaurant and around high tide.
You don't really realize how deep it is until you see a car pull through, like what's about to happen right now.
What a difference a day makes. Emma Langelier also works along the Portland Pier. Here's her before and after look of this storm.
If it rains and it's high tide, this street floods.
Emergency officials preach turn around, don't drown on a day like today, but plenty of drivers chose to throw caution to the wind.
People were just trying to test the elements, so it was interesting to see.
so the scramble was on to clear standing water where possible. In other spots, though, the only solution was time.
It's just a test of Portland, we're a port town and this is bound to happen.
It was a tough day for commuters and Portland Public Works. It had the responsibility of monitoring situations like this all day long. In Portland, Jared Pelletier, CBS 13 News.
All right, our heavy rain is moving out. I'm happy to report we'll dry things out tomorrow. When to expect the most sun and when we'll have more rain entering the forecast. It's my 7-day up next.
Now, your CBS 13 Weather Authority forecast with Charlie Lopresti.
Welcome back, everyone. What a wild day we've had. For the month of September, we're now over 7 inches of rain. That's the 9th wettest September in 144 years of records. And for the month of the year of 2015, we're now above normal in rainfall. Isn't that amazing how quickly things have turned around? Heaviest rain has moved out. We picked up around 6 inches of rain from most areas today. This is how the radar looked early this afternoon. In fact, right around midday, that was the flood warning that was issued by the National Weather Service in the greater Portland area. We had flash flood warnings issued for that cell that moved through. Rainfall rates were right around an inch per hour, and it actually lasted for a solid hour or two for many towns here. Okay, rainfall accumulations for some of our weather watchers, up over 7 inches for Newcastle. Next door in Damascotta, we have about a half a foot of rain, same in Brunswick. Scott reporting about close to 7 inches there. Naples, Dan has about 5 inches there, 4 1/4 for Lisbon Falls. Dave and Wells had around 4 inches there as well. Shapley coming in with around 5, same in Litchfield. Westport Island just shy of 5, 4 1/2 in Bridgeton. Joyce reporting that one. Mike in Poling close to 4 inches and close to 4 1/2 for Heidi in Saco. Respectable rainfall. We're going to go a long time, I bet, before we see rainfall rates and rainfall amounts like that. Let's head up to Augusta right now. There are no river flood warnings in effect for the Kennebec River, but it's clearly swollen here, 56 degrees up in Augusta right now. Let's go to Portsmouth. Looking off to the west, notice there is a clearing trend. That will become our weather overnight tonight. I also like this one over towards Pemaquid Point at the lighthouse. That right there is some wind damage. The mums blew right over. We actually captured that earlier this afternoon on the time lapse. Okay, so the leftover rain is moving out. We had that tropical fetch that fed right into the system. We had that tropical feel this morning. Now the front has made its way offshore. We're going to see some sun return tomorrow, but now the wind has shifted over to the north, so it becomes more cool and raw over the next 24 hours. Rain moves out tonight. Skies will clear out. Some sun returns tomorrow. Temps will be near 60 degrees. Looks bright. We should dry things out. Should be nice. If we see any rain on Friday, it should be hugging the coastline. Notice how that rain is not that far away. Inland areas will be brightest on Friday. The weekend is looking better and better. I actually think we're going to see a decent amount of sun on Saturday, but it's going to be cool with highs in the 50s and lows in the 30s. Okay, what happens after that will entirely depend on what happens with Tropical Storm or Hurricane Joaquin, with winds sustained about 85 miles per hour down near the Bahamas. The Hurricane Center's projected track takes the storm off to the north and then right somewhere near the mid-Atlantic, near the Chesapeake Bay region, as a Category 1 hurricane, weakening to a tropical storm late in the weekend and into early next week. If we were to see any of the remnant tropical moisture associated with that storm, if it were to take that track, it will be Monday into Tuesday. That will give us, I think, a decent weekend. Okay, so tomorrow, sun and clouds, temps in the low 60s, upper 50s on Friday. There could be some coastal rain. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue at this point. Saturday will feature partly sunny skies, more clouds late in the day on Sunday. We could see some more remnant tropical moisture heading our way from Monday and possibly Tuesday. In the forecast, we actually have a little bit of a cool down there with highs in the 50s and lows dipping into the 30s. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. It'll be nice to finally dry things out. For now, I want to send it outside where it is drying out right now. Kim and Greg are standing by. Over to you guys.
And windy.
And we are going to take a look at that up next, Charlie. Drying out and cleaning up.
That's right. We are on your side with important answers about what insurance will cover and won't cover during events like this.
You're watching CBS 13 News at 6.
And And now that the heavy rain is over, the focus turns to drying out and cleaning up. I-Team reporter John Chrysos is here to answer some of our questions that people might have about flood damage and how to get reimbursed for it.
Yeah, that is the focus tonight. People getting home from work, maybe that unpleasant surprise, unfortunately, in the basement. And we've been getting calls throughout the afternoon from people wanting to know what's covered, what's not when it comes to insurance. It can be kind of a tricky situation, so we'll kind of walk you through here what we found out today from our research. And unfortunately, today's storm, of course, also triggered power outages that turned off basement sump pumps, leading to water damage inside. So we did that research talking with the Maine Emergency Management Agency and the Bureau of Insurance. Here's the deal for you. Flood damage is usually not covered under a typical homeowner's or renter's insurance policy. For that rising groundwater damage, you will need flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. Businesses, something also to keep in mind, you're encouraged to consider flood insurance as well. Estimates say as little as 6 inches of flood water in your business can cause more than $10,000 in damage. However, damage to your home or contents caused by wind or rain coming through a leaky roof or window, usually that is covered according to the Bureau of Insurance here in Maine. As we saw pictures and video through the day, some cars were likely damaged today as well. Now, if you do have comprehensive coverage with your car insurance policy, you may be covered. A bit of good news here when we're talking about insurance. You will want to talk with your insurance company or agent for specific details on that. But really, it is a reminder whenever we see heavy rain like this, flood insurance is something good to keep in mind. The Maine Emergency Management Agency says a lot of people in Maine don't consider Maine prone to flooding, but of course we are. We remember today very well. Yes. Last August, a lot of flooding that led to damage and a significant number of claims. And the flooding of October 1996, I was up in Bangor, hit harder down in here in 1996, but a lot of damage. And you remember, Kim, I think you were in a canoe going down a street back in October 1996. So
we're both here for that.
Yeah, we'll want to keep in mind going forward. Unfortunately, too late for today to buy flood insurance for any damage, but going forward, something that you may want to keep in mind as we are, seeing flooding here in Maine.
Tough to when you have the damage and then discover you're not necessarily covered, John. Thanks for the answers.
All right, thanks, John. And up next, a final check in your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Charlie Lopresti.
Well, many towns had around half a foot of rain during the course of the day today. I'm happy to report that is moving on out of here. Skies will clear out overnight and we'll get a chance to dry out overnight. Main concerns going forward, we're watching some of the rivers. The Presumpscot River is reporting minor flooding. That is expected to expire late tonight. We're also watching the high tide around 1:45 in the morning. We'll have more updates tonight at 11, CBS 13. Have a nice night.